It could be a long legal saga lasting well into next year. The Tesla CEO, Elon Musk, reached a deal to buy Twitter in April, offering to purchase all of the company's shares, but allegations of spam accounts on the platform caused him to back off. That's his argument. Twitter's legal action to force him to honor the deal called his exit a model of hypocrisy, while also saying Musk refuses to honor his obligations to Twitter and its stockholders because the deal he signed no longer serves his personal interests. The lawsuit details how Musk offered to buy Twitter at a relatively high price of $54.2 per share, $44 billion in total, but that he looked to escape the deal after a downturn in tech stocks. Musk himself was clear and brief in his reaction, posted, of course, on the social media site.
Look, there's no winners in terms of Musk or Twitter. I mean, just to be clear, everyone's a loser in terms of how this ultimately played out reputation-wise. There's not a clear winner. I think to some extent they're both losers regardless of how it all plays out.
It had looked like Musk would control a social media network with more than 200 million users. But things got sticky when he claimed 20% of accounts were spam or fake. Twitter said the numbers were around 5%. After weeks of threats, Musk pulled the plug on the deal last Friday. Even a former US president, himself banned from Twitter, has weighed in with his views.
Elon is not going to buy Twitter. Where did you hear that before? From me. From a fake account. She says fake. A lot of them. Nah, he's got himself a mess. You know, he said the other day, oh, I've never voted for a Republican. I said, I didn't know that. He told me he voted for me. So he's another artist.
The worst that could happen from Musk is that the court ultimately rules he needs to buy Twitter, something he doesn't want to own. You know, I think at that point it's probably likely some sort of settlement if that ultimately ended up.
And that is the reality, the prospect of a long, acrimonious court battle that may force the world's richest man to buy a company he no longer wants. Francis Collins, TRT World.
Now for more, let's hear from Craig Earlham, Senior Market Analyst at Owanda in London. He gave us his take on bot accounts on Twitter and what else could have made Elon Musk decide to abort the takeover.
It's one of those situations where the number of bot accounts on Twitter has been something that's been talked about for many years, and we've never really got a grasp on what the actual true number ultimately is. And it is important. I mean, we can't ignore the fact that it is important. When you're looking at advertisers wanting to utilize the platform, then the number of real accounts is an extremely important feature. But there are obviously other metrics involved there as well. So it's there are other ways to measure how useful and how worthwhile advertising on the platform ultimately is. The question that people are going to be asking is that the real reason why Elon Musk is pulling out of the deal? He'll have known that there'll have been a number of bot accounts on the platform for a long time. But what has changed over the course of the last number of months, as you've already alluded to, is the share price and therefore the value of his offer versus the value of the company currently. And that's where a lot of skepticism starts to arrive.
So what then was the whole point of this? I mean, he did waive due diligence on the company. Is he trying to just get a better price, or so what happens now?
I think it's too late to try and get a better price. I can't imagine that he's going to walk away from this deal, given the controversy that it's now causing, and then try and come back in at a lower offering. So I don't think that's necessarily what it is. I think it's possible that he's maybe looking at his deal now and looking at the offer that was made and thinking that in the grand scheme of things, and especially in the current environment, that there just simply isn't the value there that there was before, and that maybe he was offering way too much. But again, it's always hard to say when it comes to the motives behind this acquisition. I think from the word go, to be honest, it looked like an odd acquisition. I know Elon Musk has often been critical of the Twitter platform, and maybe he was looking to fix it and make it work again. Maybe he's realized even that is going to be far more challenging. It's always hard to know ultimately what the motivation behind this is. But what Twitter can say is that the events of the last number of months have, or what they're trying to say is the events of the last number of months has negatively impacted the share price and therefore shareholder value, and they're going to be looking ultimately for compensation for that.
Right, so just very quickly, Craig, what can Twitter realistically expect in terms of compensation? Because they obviously can't realistically expect the courts to force the merger the acquisition to happen, can they?
I'd be amazed if that was the outcome. But obviously, when you look at these situations, you aim high and you settle lower. And I think what they're pushing for the merger to be forced through, and I think what they'll ultimately settle for is going to be some form of compensation from Elon Musk because he pulled out of a contract which they believe is perfectly valid.